Aston Martin race car team is having some really tough times coming up, and you can't talk about tough times without talking about Lance Stroll too. This Canadian race car driver has been looking pretty sad about all the new things happening in his team, but this time it looks like he's showing his feelings way too much about whether or not he wants to keep being a race car driver. With a new guy coming to the team and his private chat with his dad Lawrence, could we see Lance leave racing for good? And if he does, who would take his place? One of the biggest puzzles in the Formula One racing world is how Lance Stroll keeps his job as a driver. Most people think it's just because his dad has lots of money and owns the team, but there's actually way more to the story than that. For example, the Canadian driver has been showing all kinds of rude behavior towards his racing helpers. The way he acts during a regular race weekend is not what you'd expect from a good racing athlete. There have been tons of stories saying that Lance is not happy in the sport. If this turns out to be true, there's no doubt that his dad Lawrence wouldn't have much choice but to put his son in a different kind of racing. Maybe something like rally car racing or other types of car racing. Lance was actually seen testing a rally car just a few days ago in a private test. This could be part of something much bigger because the Canadian doesn't really want to stay in Formula One if the news people keep bothering him and he's not doing well in races. On top of all that, even though most drivers don't like talking to news reporters because they want to keep secrets within their team, reports say that Lance Stroll hates talking to reporters the most. This might not mean anything, of course, but on the other hand, it could also mean that Lance just doesn't love the sport and is only doing it because he's used to it. He knows that he won't lose his job, so there's no need to try hard if you don't feel like you want to. You have a safe job and a safety bubble made by your dad. Maybe you're too scared to break out of it and go search for other types of racing. This is why the rally test might mean a lot more than we could have thought about, but what's also worth the saying is that Lance Stroll is a driver who showed interest in other sports when he was growing up. Most people would think that it might be too late for him to start a career in any other area outside of Formula One, but that's definitely not true because there are tons of similar racing types that could make him happy. And again, there are tons of other things here that could somehow give Lance a boost if he decided to take this huge step and go outside of the Formula One world on his own, even though he has all the protection from his dad right now. One of these things is Adrian Newey, the technical partner of Aston Martin and the man who reportedly had talks with Lawrence Stroll behind closed doors about which drivers should be on the team. What Newey's job means exactly as a technical partner of the team is still not clear. But what's worth knowing is that it's definitely bigger than the other important people they hired, like Andy Cole, the CEO of the team and the team boss, as well as Enrico Cardile. A big reason why Newey decided that Aston Martin would be a great project for him is because he'll get to work with Alonso, who is one of the two drivers that he loved to work with besides Hamilton. But on the other hand, Newey's demand of having a bigger say in the team could be because he doesn't want to see his talent and engineering masterpiece be wasted on a driver who'll crash the car in the sand and just walk away like it's nothing. Gunter Steiner has also talked about what he's seen from Lance Stroll as a Formula One driver in terms of how he acts and his unhappiness that shows on the racing track. His comments were pretty mean. Going deeper into this, the ex-team boss of Haas said, "He never looks happy, he never seems to be happy no matter what happens. Would he be a world champion if he was happy? I don't know about that one. Some people can be good even when they are unhappy. However, that might just be how he looks." A lot of people criticize him, saying that he is such a bad driver. He is just there because daddy has the team. But put it this way, if daddy didn't have the team, I don't think Lance would be a Formula One driver because he doesn't want to be one. This has come with a lot of defensive stands, taken by Mike Crack, who is protecting Lance as if he was his own kid and not the kid of his boss, Lawrence. Mike said some head-scratching stuff about Lance, going as far as saying he has a championship mentality and potential to win the title if he's given the right car. When addressing the situation about what Steiner said, Crack said, "When we had the 3-week break recently, I had Lance on the phone asking if we could organize some driving somehow in an old car because he wants to drive. So that is the difference. It's a sport with no testing and we have someone who loves driving. It's very unfair when you read some of the comments and they are often written without much research because it suits what people want to hear. Let's write that and we can fill some lines. There is lots of stuff that needs to be solved in the near future, and one of them is definitely facing the reality that Aston Martin needs to make when it comes to Lance's performance in 2024. The Canadian driver got outperformed 70 to 24 points by his teammate Alonso. In the qualifying duels, he managed to beat him 6 times only. Yeah, we're talking about two drivers who are driving a car that is not responding to any feedback whatsoever. So you would naturally expect the more experienced and the 2-time world champion to have a better go at it, right? But Lance hasn't exactly been showing signs of getting better. His feedback, although being called instrumental for Aston Martin, by Crack hasn't really pushed the team in the right direction, so even if Alonso's seat gets filled by a driver like Verstappen or Colapinto, given what Honda wants, the question needs to be asked, is Lance Stroll the perfect choice for the second seat in Aston Martin? The answer is likely no, because we're talking about a season in which we can expect about 4 teams to be fighting up front, which means 8 drivers. If you are not with both of the cars on the podium, then chances are that the Constructor Championship would be as good as gone. And trust me when I say this, Lawrence did not invest a boatload of money in Silverstone just to see an outsider like Verstappen or Colapinto come to the team and suddenly compete for the championship, which would be way more difficult if Colapinto was to replace Alonso and not Verstappen. Not nevertheless. It doesn't look good in the picture for Lance. Whether we like it or not, he might want to resort to another category of racing. After all of the recent reports revolving around Lance Stroll's dissatisfaction on the grid, there comes a question as to who would be the best replacement for the Canadian driver. Alonso is likely to race for the last time in Abu Dhabi in 2026, as he revealed this in a statement of his own. But on the other hand, you have drivers like Verstappen who might be available on the market and who would definitely be on Aston Martin's radar. Having Verstappen on the team seals the chances of fighting for a drivers' championship. But that is not the only goal of the Silverstone-based squad. They are aiming for the ultimate prize, which is to win the Constructor Championship as well. If you think about it, Lance Stroll is not exactly the best wingman that Verstappen could have if he were to fight for the Drivers' Championship in the season in which you have Leclerc and Hamilton as Ferrari drivers and Norris and Piastri as McLaren drivers, not to mention the young and dynamic duo of Mercedes who have also got big targets on their backs, proving that the engine manufacturing process in Brackley will put them as favorites in the newly regulated era. Therefore, all the reasons for firing Stroll are of course there. But the big question is whether he would do it on his own, because of the fact that he's quite unhappy with the recent happenings in the team, and the fact that he's not finding his groove while being in a Formula 1 car. Although this has been denied by the ex-team boss of Aston Martin, Mike Crack, the situation is definitely not looking great for Lance in any way whatsoever. Do you think that Lance is as good as gone from Aston Martin and Formula 1 in general? And if so, who do you think would be the best replacement, given the fact that Alonso's seat is also considered sold because of his stance on retirement? Let us know in the comments below if you want to know more about McLaren's state-of-the-art car for the 2025 season, and if you're interested in Mercedes' latest development of events that puts them in the championship fight in 2025. Make sure to check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now.